Just a Job is the podcast for the modern woman to redefine what success looks like. We highlight real women and their real stories. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Just a Job with Ellen and Sarah. We're back for our September, you heard that correctly, September one-on-one. Happy Monday, everybody. Hey, Sarah, how's it going?
Good. And technically it's Tuesday because we are releasing this the day after Labor Day. So I hope everyone had a fun and safe Labor Day. I know you missed us yesterday.
We were part of the Monday routine. Now Tuesday. So I guess it all aligns. So it's okay.
Yes. Well, we have... Oh, go ahead. Ellen, you're just on it today. Just get
Apparently, I'm just destined to interrupt you at all points during this conversation. So we're off to a great start. We are going to be answering some questions that our audience has given us over the past couple of weeks, months, collections, all that fun stuff of things that you guys want to know about us. It's been a while since we've talked about just us specifically. And we've got a couple of questions, a couple of random fun things to talk about. So I have, of course, a list of things that I wanted to give an update on and just kind of funny things that I've collected throughout the week that I wanted to share. And the first one being, Sarah, we have a wonderful anniversary to share with everyone. According to my Facebook this morning, we have been friends on Facebook for 7 years now.
Oh, that's so sweet. Go us. Happy
So
Annie,
cute.
Ellen.
I should post some like old, extremely filtered pictures that I have from forever ago.
Please. Oh my gosh. Instagram, watch out.
The
It's like
filters are out of control. It's foul.
That or it's just like 2017 fashion.
Ooh, yikes.
Scary.
Not the most beautiful, but hey, whatever. Good memories, right?
Yes.
The other thing that I saw that is also a celebration is apparently it's Women's Equality Day. Hooray,
Amazing.
happy equality.
Okay.
I don't know.
Shouldn't every day be Equality Day? Or
I also think, like, you know how there's all these made up, like, oh, today is National Coffee Day, you know? Like,
yeah.
like I saw as a post on LinkedIn, and I don't know how true that is or not. So take that with a grain of salt, but go celebrate a woman and their equality if you're listening to this. So that's my wonderful, like, woman's fluff I have for this.
There's a little judge, but yeah, no. Every day should be Women's Equality Day. So take the spirit that it fills your soul today. Well, technically the 26th or whenever it is, and carry it on with the rest of your life and celebrate every woman in your life.
Yes, go celebrate someone. What other random things? Oh, I just like love this as a. Okay, let's preface this. I love gossip. Like, I love talking shit about just about anything. Like, put a glass of something in my hand and give me a microphone and I will just gab away, obviously. So my note reads, when shit goes bad at your old company, I just love getting gossipy things of hearing things that have gone on at a previous company that you have been at. I'll say one of my previous companies just went through another round of layoffs. And
how many layoffs can one stand?
I literally think that is number 6 or 7, which is horrifying. And I was reading all of the LinkedIn posts that people read, and I was just like eating my popcorn, like, ha 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 ha. And it made me think, like, I was talking with a coworker about this the other day too, of they had worked at a smaller startup previous to Intuit. And she was saying how they're like, they'll reach back out to her to be like, hey, if you ever need a, you know, a job in the future, feel free to come back. And we were kind of talking about how you almost kind of gloat in seeing a previous company's decline because of whatever reason. And I thought it was an interesting topic of not relishing in their decline, but a little bit of that, if you know what I mean.
There's some sense of like, well, especially because the way that you were forced out left a sour taste in your mouth. So when there's like a little bit of sweet to the end of this story, it helps.
And again, who doesn't love a little bit of gossip? I mean, come on. If you don't, you're lying. That's what I think.
That is true. Company gossip. As long as you're not like the gossip, right? Like don't gossip about people
No,
that you work with.
no.
Don't yeah.
Be very strategic in whom you speak with because you know that that's not staying with that person 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Good lesson to learn. Um, that's all the notes that I had for now. Sarah, any fun anecdotes, fun work stories, anything you'd like to update us on before we go in and talk about answer some of these burning questions?
I would like to say that I do, but I don't. I am taking a better I tried today to be better about taking my lunch break and we'll
Good.
see if it keeps up.
Good.
Um that's the only thing I feel like that's what I'm focusing on. I don't
Taking
really
care of
have any
yourself is important.
yeah, I got to take care of yourself and something I'm also trying to be better about is like connecting with people outside of work cuz I'm as a project manager a lot of times when people hear from me it's because I am either giving them work or have a question about the work that they're working on and so it's not usually a welcomed name when mine comes across the screen, but I am trying to be better about reaching out and just like connecting with teammates and it not being always about work or things that they're actively working on, like life things. So
Mhm.
that's I guess a little testament. If you're working remote, try to make connections. Maybe that's what I need to do is do like a lunch, virtual lunch with someone.
Mhm.
I don't know. We'll see. Then it's kind of awkward to like eat on screen. So, anyways, let's get into the questions and thanks
Let's.
to everyone for submitting. But I think we're gonna stick with 3 because Ellen, like I said, we could always gap. So, Ellen, first question for you: non-negotiables for early on in your career.
I love this question because I think early in my career, the only negotiable that I had was to get a job and to get my foot in the door somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But if I was to redo it, I think I would look for a really, really big company. And I say that because the opportunity and the network that you get from having a really big name on your resume, I think is so, like, just opens the door to so many opportunities. One, if you're an intern or if it's your first job and you're at a really, you're at a monster company, if you like it there, great. If you don't like your job, okay, there's thousands of others for you to go try. Two, some, and I've heard this a lot as well, just within, like, I guess the career space and doing research for the podcast, of people saying that they've gotten jobs at other companies simply because they have experience at X company. So I think having like a really big name on there gets you that networking opportunity. It sets you up for success. You can stay, you can go. And I think having that opportunity would be a really good way to set yourself up for anything in the future. So if I was to go back and totally redo it, I think I would look for a really, really big name of some kind to just get my foot in the door, because I think it's a really good way to, I'm repeating myself, but you set yourself up for success in so many ways in a really, really large industry and or company.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what I would do. But looking back, there's no way I would have done that. Oh my gosh, I think I'd be way too scared. But that's
Mm-hmm.
probably a non-negotiable that I would have. It's hard early in your career because you just want to be flexible to accept and do anything and not be picky. But maybe if I could be picky.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Having a big name, especially like early on in your career, does leave a stamp on your resume and like opens doors.
Mhm.
Um, so long as
I
it's a good company.
Yeah, that too. I think another thing is like 401k matching, I think is really important. Like early in your career, if you can shovel as much as you can over there, that's fabulous. It gets some good financial security going. I know that's
Mm-hmm.
really boring, but
Yeah,
it's
not
really
fun, Ellen,
helpful.
but truth.
I know. That's like so not sexy, but I mean in the long run it'll really benefit you.
Agreed.
Those are really like not very exciting, but I feel like no,
You're
where I'm
taking
at
the mature
now,
approach.
I know it's like 401k. so glamorous. Working at a big company couldn't be sexier. But truly, I think it'll put you in a good place, and putting in the work now will only benefit you in the future. So I know, not
Agreed.
very exciting, but Sarah,
Not
looking back at
sexies.
your early career, what would your non-negotiables be?
I would say do the unsexy jobs.
Mm.
So this is maybe going a little bit against what you're saying, Owen, because it's
Okay.
like part of me thinks that you have to be a Swiss Army knife when you're young in your career, because it's really, to me, it feels like just in general in your 20s, taking risk, it doesn't come with as much, I would say, consequences.
Yeah.
There's less responsibilities. There's like less things that you need to be concerned about. And by working at a company that allows you to do a lot of different things, it's almost like if it's like a mini little internship in your job where you get to like touch and do all of these different things. And like Bailey, for instance, like she was thrown headfirst into this small company where she was wearing a ton of hats, and now
Mhm.
she's like the marketing director of that company. And I think sometimes when you go for the jobs just for like the titles or just for the companies, you don't necessarily get exposure to a lot of those like nitty gritty things that sometimes happen with a lot of smaller companies. So I guess this is more of just like speaking on my experience, and like
Mhm.
these are things that were important to me, and like I'm glad that happened to me, are like working for a smaller company gets you on a day-to-day basis like more work handed to you that you wouldn't necessarily get at a bigger company. And I
Hmm.
think that you have to have that early on in your career, because I'd hate to like get later in my career and wish that I had done or seen or like fulfilled more.
Mhm.
So I'd say that that's a non-negotiable. um I think also too a non-negotiable now is general like flex, right? We talk so much about how we struggled early on in our careers because it was like you're going from this, kind of self-paced schedule of college to this four-wall box of your,
Mm.
8 to 5.
Mhm.
And if a company doesn't like allow you to take a lunch break, or doesn't allow you to like go to a doctor's appointment or take time off with like repercussions, I think it only intensifies that experience. And so I would say that definitely one of those kind of like non-sexy negotiables is flexible PTO, or like paid sick leave instead of you having to take paid time off because you have a
Mhm.
cold. Like again,
Yeah.
little unsexy things. But I would say that those
Mhm.
are two of mine in like early career.
And like a salaried versus hourly position, so you have that more time flexibility as well.
Mm-hmm.
But
Totally.
like, if we could marry the two of our responses, also, when you do transition jobs, going from a startup to a big company, or big company to small, medium sized, and getting that experience across all different sizes to, one, decide what you like, and then two,
Mm-hmm.
get that experience of working it into it versus working at a startup company is couldn't
Mm-hmm.
be more different. So,
Right.
you know, you get different learnings as you go, and I think it's a good way for you to process of elimination, decide what you like, and where you
Yeah.
want to go forward, you know?
Like what's priority? Like are you looking it
Yes.
just, yeah, what are you looking for?
Totally.
Um Question number 2.
That's a good
Moment that it
tie-in.
moment that it was time to change jobs.
Mhm. I know this is like a very cliche answer, but I feel like when you're no longer learning either about the industry or in your specific, like, even just professional skills or within your current role, I think it's time to go.
Mm-hmm.
If it's like, if it's no longer providing any sort of value to you, I think the best time to look for a job is when you currently have one, of course. So um that's my personal rule of them. I think there's always a financial aspect to it of, at the end of the day, if you need to earn more money for whatever reason, that's a fabulous reason to go as well. But I think number one for me is when I'm no longer learning or growing. That's when I'm like, all right, I need to go find something else, because at that point I'm probably bored too.
Mm-hmm.
So
And you're not like showing up fully to work. You're just kind of going through the motions.
Yeah, that's no fun. So
I get it. I get it.
yeah.
I think I've talked about it on the podcast, but I remember very vividly having a conversation in one of my last roles with a teammate, and we were talking about just like general job place satisfaction and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, she had been at the company for a while, and I remember, I think, kind of alluding to like how long do you think you'll stay here or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And she always said, or well, she said, I will not leave unless something is pushing me out or something is pulling me away. And I feel like that's kind of just like general life sentiment, maybe, of like making big changes. But in this case, like an example of, like in your case, Ellen, like if you were like, I'm not learning enough, like that's enough to push somebody out. If the
Yeah.
environment's really toxic, that's enough to push somebody out to where you're actively seeking a role. I think that it's important to like recognize that. And then as soon as you start to feel that, yeah, start looking for another job, because it takes a long time and you don't want to continue to grow like resentful or just like not be a good employee.
Mm-hmm.
On the opposite side, maybe something comes along. Like there's so many stories where it's like, well, I wasn't looking for a job, but this opportunity hit my plate and it was just like too good to pass up. That's something that would be pulling you away.
Mm-hmm.
Which sometimes is a little bit more uncomfortable because it's like unexpected in some sense, as opposed to you proactively seeking something out. But I think that one's a little bit more fun because it's like it
Yeah.
just kind of hits your plate and you're like, oh my God, I was not expecting this, but
Mm-hmm.
it's too good. So I think that like you and I can both recall on all the times that we've had to change jobs or, level up or whatever. Like there was
Mm-hmm.
something that was pushing us out or pulling us away. So
Yes.
I would say
What
that's
are
something to think about.
we've talked about this before too, but like the job pillars of satisfaction. It's like people, pay,
Mm-hmm.
and something else. What's the other one?
People, pay, and the actual job. Like, do you like the
Okay.
work that you do day to day?
Right. And the
Yeah,
premise is you need to have two out of those three
I
to
do.
have
And yeah.
satisfaction within your job. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that's another
Mm-hmm.
interesting lens to look at whether or not you should
Definitely.
stay, I guess. So
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah. If you
people,
don't
now
have
I
if you
forgot.
don't
Oh my
have those
God.
two,
People,
what?
pay, and the job, like your role. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Short term memory loss over here. It's going great.
Well, maybe that can lead us into our next question.
Oh God. Yeah, no kidding.
So the question is, how do you manage the pod with a full-time job?
You know what's funny too is I was talking to one of my mentees, Hadassah, who is just an actual angel. She also just passed her PMP. Woohoo! And we were talking about this over the weekend. She's like, oh, how's podcast stuff going? And I was like, it's like I didn't want to say not good, but I was like, here's a vulnerable spot that me and Sarah are in right now. I've just have not been able to dedicate the time I want to the podcast with probably within the past like month, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still a wonderful creative outlet to have. And I love having it and doing it and being a part of it so much. But my time management has fallen to the wayside, let me tell you, and the funny thing too, whenever we edit things, it automatically goes to our shared email account. So I know you can see when I'm exporting things at 10 o'clock at night or 11
Mm-hmm.
o'clock at night. And I would, same thing when you do it. It makes me giggle because
Like 1
time
p.m. on a
management.
Saturday. And it's
I
like, you should be
know.
out enjoying your life.
So the whole balancing act has not been very good
Mm-hmm.
recently. Work has
Mm-hmm.
been very demanding. I've been sick. It's summertime. I mean, life, right? All the things are
Yeah.
happening. And we've both recently had new jobs. Like, it's been a lot going on. And
Mm-hmm.
one, to honor that there's a lot going on, but also like, we're still making time for this, which makes me very happy. So balancing everything has been tricky. Um, Managing the calendars has been another, talk about time management between this calendar and then a personal calendar and then work calendar has been not great. One of our guests we have had to reschedule no less than 10 times. I think at this point. So
Oh my
we're
God.
we're making time for it, but we're kind of scraping by at this point, to be totally vulnerable. But again, it's still like such a fun passion project. of hours sorry to speak for you, Sarah, but yeah, time management has been very good recently. And that's my POV. Sarah, what's yours?
Totally. I mean, Ellen and I had a very like honest conversation about this the other day. It's like it's palpable, right? But I think that just like life in general, there's seasons. And
Yeah.
along with those seasons, I think comes energy and investment in that energy. And right now, it's like we're giving the podcast what it needs to continue to run. And I mean, we've been very candid from the start that like our goal with the podcast was to A, share stories, B, have a shared connection between the two of us where like it's this thing that we've built and, you know, continue to build together. But then just to like scratch an itch. And it's not like we've ever put any pressure on it, but Ellen and I are so type A, we're 2s and 3s wing, you know, like we don't like to do things half-assed, but the reality and the skinny is you can't do everything 100%. I can't be a great wife, I can't be a great dog mom, I can't be a great employee of 2 companies, I can't, you know, it's like you just have to give yourself grace. But in those moments where you're like, holy shit, I have let some things slip, and you know what, that's okay. It's not life surgery that either one or life surgery. It's not life or death that either one of us are doing on the daily. So like, why in the hell are we putting so much pressure on it? Clearly I'm very heated about this because it's something that I'm like mentally working through. So if somebody was to say, how are you managing podcasts with a full-time job and a part-time job? Not well, but I'm learning.
If any, to put a positive spin on it, we're learning from this, right?
That's it. Yeah.
And I'm thank God we're on the same page about this too. Because if like I was super busy and you weren't, I would feel like such an asshole to be like, sorry, Sarah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And like so, there's waves. There's waves. And like we're together in this wave right now. And sometimes it is opposite. And sometimes it works really well. And like you just kind of have to counterbalance. But like I'm so grateful that I have you to do this with, because if I came to this by myself, I'd be like, oh my God, I'm giving up. But I will say that that's just the reality of when you start something, like it still gives and takes your energy just as much as it did the first day, right? Like that's okay. So if you're going to try something, I guess this is my little 2 cents, if you will, is it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to take all of your energy. And it's okay if it's not exactly as you pictured it and you can't give your all. But the matter of fact is, the positive note is that you are doing it. And that's all that matters. So
I was going to say, exactly. We're still doing it. We're still getting by. We're still having fabulous interviews and still putting content out and doing things that we're proud of, but it's a little tough to do that right now, is just what it boils down to, right? But we're making it. We're getting through.
We're making it. Yeah. Well, those answer the first 3 questions that we have. I mean, we are all ears. If they ever have any questions about, oh, what microphones do you use, or like just anything about the podcast, about life, about work, like Ellen and I will make time for it, because that's the like fun piece of having the podcast. So
yes,
Ellen, happy Tuesday. I had to think about that. Any parting thoughts? We're going to keep today short and sweet.
We were talking about this earlier, but if anyone has any guest recommendations of someone that they would love us to interview, and or if there's like a specific kind of experience you're looking for or job title that you would like to hear from, let us know. We would love to reach out to them and continue building our community and network of amazing people. So please send any recommendations our way. We would love that.
Well, everyone, have a great 4-day week. Breathe in, breathe out. That's what I keep saying to myself.
One day at a time. You're still doing it. You're rolling with the punches. Good job. You're doing great, sweetie.
You're doing great, sweetie. Well, everyone, enjoy your week. Make sure to follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, and Spotify. And for your little dose of Tuesday, just remember, it's literally just a job. Thanks, everyone.